You're not stuck. That's the story you tell yourself because it removes responsibility. Stuck sounds like there's no option, like you don't have a choice, like something is holding you in place. But that's not what's happening. You see it, you know it's not right. You've already identified the pattern. You've already felt the misalignment. You've already had the moment where everything became clear. And yet, you're still there. Not because you're trapped, because leaving creates something you don't want to face. You're not staying because it's unclear. Clarity is not the issue anymore. That part is over. You've seen enough. You've experienced enough. You don't need more evidence. You don't need more time. You don't need another conversation to confirm what you already know. The pattern is clear. The behavior is consistent. The outcome is predictable. You're not waiting to understand it better. You already understand it. What you're avoiding is what comes after you accept it. Leaving creates a void. When you leave, something disappears. Not just the person, not just the situation. The structure disappears, the routine, the emotional rhythm, the pattern your system got used to. Even if it was unstable, it was familiar. It filled space. It gave you something to respond to. When you remove that, there's nothing there. No stimulation, no interaction, no distraction. Just space. And most people are not prepared to sit in that. The void feels like loss. And your system doesn't interpret that space as neutral. It interprets it as loss. It feels like something is missing, like something was taken away. Even if what was there wasn't good for you, your system still reacts to its absence. Because it got used to it, that absence creates discomfort, and your instinct is to remove that discomfort as quickly as possible. You miss what you were used to, not what was good. This is where most people get confused. They think the discomfort means they miss the person, that they made the wrong decision, that maybe it wasn't as bad as they thought. But what they're actually missing is familiarity, the pattern, the routine, the predictability of how things played out, not the quality of the experience. You don't want to start over. Leaving resets everything. You don't just walk away from the situation. You walk away from the progress you thought you were making, the time you invested, the energy you put in, the version of the future you were building in your head. Starting over means letting go of all of that, and most people resist that. Not because staying is better, because starting over feels like losing. You're attached to the outcome you imagined. You didn't just engage with what was happening. You built an idea of what it could become. You created a version of the future where things worked, where it improved, where it aligned. And leaving means accepting that version isn't real. It means letting go of something that never actually happened. And that's difficult because you weren't just attached to the person. You were attached to the outcome. You're avoiding the emotional withdrawal. This is the part no one talks about. When you leave a pattern you've been in for a while, your system reacts. Not logically, physically, emotionally. There's a drop, a shift, a sense of emptiness, restlessness, urges to go back, urges to reconnect. Not because it's right, because your system is used to the stimulation. And when that stimulation disappears, it reacts. You've felt this before. You've already experienced this. You've stepped away before. You've felt that initial clarity. And then a few days later, something shifts. It feels quiet. It feels empty. You start remembering the good parts. You start questioning your decision. You start thinking, maybe it wasn't that bad. And that's the moment most people go back. Not because the situation improved, because they couldn't tolerate the absence of it. You go back to remove the discomfort. Going back doesn't solve the problem. It removes the discomfort temporarily. It fills the space again. It restores the pattern. And that relief feels like the right decision. But it's not resolution. It's repetition. You're not afraid of leaving, you're afraid of what comes next. Leaving itself is simple. It's a decision. What's difficult is what happens after. The silence, the space, the lack of distraction. The need to sit with yourself without the pattern filling that space. You have to face yourself without distraction. When the pattern is gone, you're left with yourself, your thoughts, your habits, your emotions. And if you've been using the situation as a way to avoid something internally, that becomes very clear when it's gone. You lose the excuse. As long as you're in the situation, you have something to point to, something external to focus on, something to blame, something to fix. When you leave, that disappears. And now there's nothing between you and yourself. You have to build something new. Leaving isn't just removal, it's replacement. You have to build a new structure, new habits, new patterns, new ways of responding. And that takes effort. It takes consistency. It takes time. And most people avoid that by returning to what already exists. You keep delaying the inevitable. Every time you stay, you're not solving the problem. You're delaying it. The outcome doesn't change, it just gets pushed further out. And the longer you delay it, the more it costs. You trade short-term relief for long-term cost. Staying feels easier in the moment. It removes the discomfort. It avoids the unknown. But over time, it creates a larger cost. More time lost, more energy spent, more recovery required. The shift is simple but uncomfortable. You don't need more clarity. You don't need more analysis. You need to tolerate what happens after you leave. That's the skill. You have to tolerate the void. You have to sit in the space without immediately trying to fill it. You have to let the discomfort exist without reacting to it, without going back to remove it. You have to let the pattern fade. The urge to go back doesn't last forever. It fades, but only if you stop feeding it. If you keep returning, you reset the process every time. You build a new baseline. Over time, what once felt empty starts to feel normal. What once felt uncomfortable starts to feel stable. But that only happens if you stay out of the old pattern long enough. You stop fearing what comes next. Because once you experience that you can handle the space, the fear loses its hold. You realize the discomfort was temporary. You're not stuck. You're avoiding the next step. You're not stuck. You never were. You saw it. You understood it. You just didn't want what came after. But that's the only place change happens. Not in staying, not in repeating, in leaving and facing what comes next. And the moment you stop avoiding that, everything shifts. Not because the situation changed, because you did. Thank you for watching. This is MindStickz.